Okay, here we are. We're starting.
Come see, I swear by now I'm drowning. I say,
That's what you wanted to do?
I'm going
We had to redo the beginning of this podcast? We started, and then you started hissing, and then you were like,
of Dave Matthews?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
He was a little before your time.
No, he wasn't. Don't say, have I ever heard of Dave Matthews like he's this fucking prolific singer?
He is a prolific singer.
Oh, you're a big Dave Matthews guy?
I have a Dave Matthews tattoo.
Is it true?
I'm a pretty big Dave Matthews fan.
Is that true?
Yeah. It was the first tattoo I ever got. I was 16 years old. This was 10 years ago.
Oh, you're one of those people that got, like, tattoos at 16?
Yeah.
What is it of? What's the tattoo?
It's of the Naked Fire Dancer, the Dave Matthews Band, Naked Fire Dancer.
Where is it?
It's on my arm.
Can I see it?
No.
What?
Yes. You can see
it? What is it? Let me see.
It's the dancing headless woman.
Oh. I thought it was that thing, like, people in New Mexico have of, like, the... No. You know that guy? That's like, it's in Breaking Bad? I thought it was that for a second. I was like, you have that on your arm?
It's Dave Matthews. You wouldn't understand this music, movement.
Fuck, there's a moth inside.
You've got to get over this fear of moss, Cooper.
It's not a fear, it's a disgust.
It is a fear.
To anyone listening, this podcast might be greatly affected by the fact that there is a moth inside. And I hate moths because... Here's why I hate moths. Because they're the grossest bugs.
Please tell us.
Oh, don't do that. Don't say please tell us on a podcast.
No, I'm super interested.
It's a podcast with no theme.
Okay,
We're fucking lucky the moth is in here so we can burn 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, that seems like a bad attitude.
Shut the fuck up with the bad attitude bullshit.
I'm just saying how it is. We got a lot of listeners now. Last episode, we had over 20,000 views. Wasn't that what you said?
No, it was like 110.
Oh. Never mind.
Did you think it was 20,000?
I thought it was at least like close to it.
You thought it was close?
We're only getting 100 something an episode? Oh, God.
Well, no, the 100 was kind of lucky. Our views have gone down since the first.
Jesus. Why are we even doing this anymore? It's apparent no one wants to listen.
Oh, come on. No podcast was ever famous on the 5th episode.
Well, probably.
No. I mean, unless we're already famous. But...
Does anyone in this pandemic, in this terrible times... Does anyone really want to hear from us? I doubt it.
There are a couple.
Put yourselves in the shoes of our listeners, Cooper. You think anyone wants to listen to someone? I don't like moths.
There are a couple.
I like Dave Matthews. This podcast is trash. It's been trash from the beginning, and it's only gone down.
You have said it hasn't only gone down. You have said this so many times while recording this podcast. On air, that you're like, nobody gives a shit about this, and I'm like, Dylan, sure, but we've just started, and please don't say it on the podcast.
I'm just being real. I'm the only honest one on this podcast, I feel like.
Oh, I'm honest, come on.
You said you knew who Dave Matthews was, and you lied about that.
I know who Dave Matthews is.
You were shaking and not making eye contact?
Dave Matthews is a guy that everyone makes fun of, and I've heard his songs. Is he Let Her Go?
Sing one.
Let Her Go. Is he Let Her Go?
Nope.
He's not?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I think he is.
No.
Let her go.
Do you know any other words?
No, I just know Let Her Go.
That's not a song.
If anyone's listening, please let us know if Dave Matthews has a song that is about letting a woman go. I think it is. Because it's not Jack Johnson, who I like. I like Jack Johnson. And it's not, who's the other guy?
Who gives a fuck, Cooper? Get real!
Who gives a fuck that you like Dave Matthews?
A lot more than people who, I don't like moths. Talk about you and everyone else.
I think there's a lot of people that listen to that and they were like, Moths are gross, and you didn't even let me finish. Moths are terrible because they're gross, and they're blind, and so they don't know where they're going.
They see by the light.
Yeah, which is dumb. A wasp could kill us in the darkness. I have some respect for that, but a moth is just like, I don't know where I'm going. Ugh, get out of here with your existential loss.
So how long have you been lying about knowing music that you don't?
I know who Dave Matthews is.
Prove it. All you've said is, isn't he that guy
He
who
has
says
the
let
famous...
her go? Isn't he that guy that has a song about a woman?
There's
Talk about every musician ever.
One of his band members, is it the saxophone or the bass? The black dude. Is it the saxophone or the bass?
See, now you could say that about any band.
No, you can't say that about any band.
Oh, sorry that...
You know who I'm talking about. Is it the saxophone or the bass? Just tell me.
I'm not going to tell you.
I think it's the saxophone.
I'm going to glorify.
Is it? I think you're mad because I knew a little bit more about the Dave Matthews Band than you wanted me to. Not only Dave Matthews, but the Dave Matthews Band.
Get out of my cabin. Leave.
Do you not like Jack Johnson?
I like Jack Johnson. When did I ever say I didn't?
Well, you got kind of, angry when I brought him up.
Banana pancakes. That guy fucks.
He does. Jack Johnson might be the coolest guy ever. He was like a professional surfer turned acoustic guitarist.
Oh. Banana pancakes in the morning?
I've never heard him explain his come-up.
Pretend like there's no world outside.
I like Bubble Toes. That's one of my favorites.
That's a good one.
There's
I
also
like that song Taylor. Did you ever listen to that song?
I'm sure, but I can't think of it.
JJ.
Listen to a lot of Jack Johnson, I'll tell you that much. What's that song, When I Look Up? That's good. That's like a minute long, but it's really good.
How's it go?
When I look up at the stars in the sky. That one? But it's like not like there's like no intonation. It's just like his great voice. What a cool story though, because he was just like surfing and then probably playing songs on the beach, and his friends were like, Jack, you should get into music. And he's like, me? And then he did, and now he fucking rules.
Pretend like there's no world outside.
We can pretend it all the time.
Don't you know that it's just raining?
I remember somebody, I was watching the YouTube video of banana pancakes, not watching, listening. And I looked in the comments, and then someone said, like, however many likes, and I'll learn this and sing it to my girlfriend on our anniversary. And there were like a bunch of likes, and everyone was like, you gotta do it. And I was like, that's a real Jack Johnson vibe, you know? Bringing people together. And I bet she liked it.
Wow.
I don't know if she would like it now, but I think at the time she was like, you learned banana pancakes for me?
It's 2008 and this was an incredible anniversary.
Banana pancakes too. What a Jack Johnson food.
Yeah.
It's a Jack Johnson-ass food, banana pancakes.
Sweet and casual.
It's sweet and casual, but there's a certain subtlety and softness to it.
Yeah. Ooh, Jack Johnson.
God, what do I do to be... I wonder how he's doing. Has he released an album in a while?
I don't know.
Because he released To the Sea in maybe 2012? Who's to say?
I don't want to do this podcast anymore.
Why? Because I'm expressing my love for Jack Johnson, how he's a good guy and better than Dave Matthews.
Take that shit back.
You know what? I haven't
Take it back.
I haven't listened to enough Dave Matthews, but I think in my opinion, I would like Jack Johnson better. I'm not saying he's better, because there is, it's subjective, but I think I'm more of a Jack Johnson guy than I am a Dave Matthews guy.
You're trash.
Oh, that's
what you are.
No, Jack Johnson's great. He's also a great guitar player.
How long has their careers gone? Dave Matthews Band versus Jack Johnson.
Well, that's not fair. Jack Johnson probably started way after him.
Yeah, but he's not still going.
Probably.
He had banana pancakes and he was done.
Okay, when was Dave Matthews' last hit?
Probably like 2016.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
What was it then? Mr. Dave Matthews tattoo?
Oh, shut your mouth.
Well, you got the tattoo, so fucking show your work. When is his latest hit?
Funny the way it is when you think about it.
What's it called?
It's called Funny the Way It Is.
When would that come out?
The world is backing out.
Don't just keep singing it. Answer the question. When did it come out?
Well, they've come out with several albums since. But I would say that was one of their last mainstream jams.
And when was it?
Probably like 2014.
Okay, so it's been 6 years since anything from Dave?
Yeah, and when have you heard from Jack Johnson ever?
Jack Johnson's timeless. I don't even need to answer that question.
Dude, Dave Matthews is so much better than Jack Johnson. You are so white, and that's why you don't understand.
Well, if you want to up the whiteness, Grateful Dead is better than both of them.
No.
Oh, okay. This could become a real argument. I think we just gotta move
on. They're not. Grateful Dead is just a brand for hippies.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Their music was co-opted by the
Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that Grateful Dead did a show on acid?
No, they didn't do a show on acid. They played at the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, which were a huge part of the 60s, and they were the band for it.
Wow.
It's pretty interesting, I think.
Dave Matthews Band.
Jerry Garcia is a very underrated guitarist.
Yeah, and then he went on to make ties that they sold at JCPenney.
He didn't make those.
Yes, he did. It was his line of ties.
They used his name.
Of neckties.
I'm almost sure he was dead when they made those. He was a nice, cool guy.
And then he made ties.
He didn't make ties.
I wore one of his ties for homecoming.
Yeah, my dad...
you know what happened?
What?
Nobody kissed me. And nobody danced with me. Because they said, look at that stupid Jerry Garcia tie. That's a dead man's tie.
Yeah, he was dead. I think they took his name. I don't think Jerry Garcia would have been like, let's get into the tie game.
I'm sure he did.
Do you know how much fucking money he had? The amount of touring they did? Wild. And they're a band that had hits after their prime.
Who gives a shit about your white bullshit?
Jerry Garcia.
You want to talk about mayonnaise, too?
Jerry Garcia wasn't white. You fucking racist.
Grateful Dead. If you lined up every race.
Yeah.
And you said, who wants this Grateful Dead album?
It would be white
and
people.
You threw it, yeah.
Yeah. But Jerry Garcia is not white. And how dare you erase his race? How dare you? Jerry Garcia? Such a good guy.
This is the worst podcast
ever.
He
died in rehab of sleep apnea. Isn't that terrible? Trying to better himself.
He died of sleep apnea?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
In rehab. Doesn't that suck? Trying to get off H for the second time.
Heroin's a very white thing.
Well, that's a weird thing to say.
I'm just saying. Just saying what the viewers are thinking.
I mean, I guess, but I really don't have the statistics on that. I don't want to just cop to that.
Oh, how big of you. Bitch.
Oh, it's big of me? I don't just make grand statements. Heroin's such a white thing. There are tons of black and Latinx and Asian people shooting up H every goddamn day.
And that's the way you like it. You know what? No, I've heard everything I need to hear.
No, I want diversity in drug use, yeah.
You're disgusting.
Well, that's why the crack epidemic was so bad, because it targeted one race. And I think there should have been more diversity in the government murder of tons of people.
Let's not
this
get
podcast
into conspiracies right now.
It's not a conspiracy. Don't even begin with me.
Well,
Reagan funded the Contras. Okay,
Reagan did a lot of things.
Are you defending Reagan?
No.
You big Reaganite?
I'm not.
Well, I just want to say...
I will say, despite him being probably the most evil president ever to happen, at least in terms of how my community is concerned.
Right.
Pretty good foreign policy.
Is it true?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
Really? Because that's the thing he's kind of known for.
Well, he helped,
He's known for his great foreign policy and murdering hundreds of thousands of gay people by ignoring... And And also, CDC was there back then, too. Hey, CDC, you're doing a bang-up job! Did great now, you did great in the past.
Listen, this podcast is pro-Fauci. This is not true. Yeah, but his foreign policy also included, like, funding, like, armed militias that overthrew, like, democratically elected leaders.
Oh, get over it, Cooper. You sound like a broken record.
Get over
You did
the
Jack
government
Johnson.
ruin of South America? I won't get over it. I won't get over the United Fruit Company
Name
started
one
by
country
Kennedy.
in South America.
El
I bet
Salvador.
you can't name
El
any
Salvador.
of them.
Which was fucked by the U.S. government.
Let's swap saying South American countries. The first one to not think of one loses everything.
Okay.
You got El Salvador, Chile,
Peru.
Argentina.
Colombia.
Shut up. Bolivia.
Brazil.
We already said Brazil, didn't we?
No. You fucking forgot
Ecuador.
Ecuador?
Ooh.
You say
don't
it.
know so much about foreign policy
Costa
now,
Rica.
Cooper Lyden. Costa Rica is not South America. That's Central America, you racist.
Okay. Fuck you. Oh, actually,
Are they all the same thing to Cooper Lyden?
is El Salvador Central America? I think it is. I'll cop to that.
No, it's not.
You sure?
South America.
I'll check the facts on that one.
Cooper, you're garbage.
I was in a Central American Revolutionary class.
Oh, were you?
I'm saying it in the way that, like, I should have learned more. But I did learn that Kennedy is a sack of shit. So that was interesting.
Kennedy?
Yeah.
Like JFK?
Yeah.
Well, every president has their bad things.
Yeah, but his bad things were pretty bad.
But he was also one of the most loved presidential figures of all time. And he wasn't running by Cooper Lyden's 2020 moral standard.
Yeah, he was the most loved president of all time because he got shot by the mafia before he could ruin other countries.
Is this... Does anyone ever do anything right in your book? Or are people known for only their wrongs?
I'm not saying Kennedy was
in
pure
the Cooper Lyden Handbook of Judgment.
No, but I'm saying if you're a president and your wrongs are that bad, I think it sort of outweighs the rights. If we really want to talk about
Tell me one good president who only did good things.
I don't think any. I mean, I think Jimmy Carter is kind of regarded as the guy that only did good things, but also regarded as the guy that kind of didn't do much of anything. But I like Jimmy Carter because he was, like, well-meaning, but he wasn't ready to be... Not ready, but he just wasn't the guy. Because he was, like, too good.
And 20-year-old Cooper knows.
It's just my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. Also, what does 26-year-old Dylan know about Jimmy Carter's presidency?
Oh, a hell of a lot more than you.
What was it?
Let's talk about elections. Let's talk about
and
wrong.
Name one thing you know about Jimmy Carter's presidency. I can name one thing.
He wasn't a two-term president.
He
That's
wasn't.
for damn sure.
That's true.
One thing. There you go.
He tried to implement or build up the Dewey Decimal System, I think, as far as I know. And he also tried to get America on the metric system, and people did not accept it at all.
Who the fuck cares?
You said, what the fuck? You were so excited to say you're Jimmy Carter. In fact, then I say it and you attack me?
Cooper, this... I've been trying the last... We've just hit over 2 months in a cabin together.
And it's been a whole lot of fun.
It's been a whole lot of fun.
Every day.
But there's been some times where I've been mad.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure you've been mad as well.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times that I've been mad at you, I don't think you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me one.
We were watching The Sopranos, and you were sitting in the other lazy boy chair, and you started moving it, and there was this shrill squeak that I thought you would notice immediately and stop moving, but you continued to move the chair up and down for like close to 30 seconds. And you don't know, but at that time, I was furious. Like, I kept looking over at you as if to say, like, are you fucking kidding me? And I just kind of like had to drop it.
Okay.
To move on with our friendship. But I'm not saying that was like necessarily warranted. I'm saying a lot of the times that you don't know I'm mad is because I'm like holding in rage. Or like when like we're watching TV and then you go to sleep, like you don't snore, and then we're watching TV and you just snore so loudly, and then I have to stop the TV and I'm furious, but I'm like, oh, I'm not going to wake him up. And you're just snoring, and then you wake up and you're like, why'd you stop the show?
That's strange because I'm known for being a silent sleeper.
You know you're not. There's no way you could be. Just to all the viewers, I just want to give you guys the scope
the gall on you
of how Dylan will fall asleep during shows. We watched the entirety of The Sopranos. All of it. And then during the series finale, the most important episode of the series, you fell asleep about 4 times and snored through it every time. And there were 2 times when you woke up and you were like, oh, where are you, Cooper? And I was like downstairs trying to cool down from the boiling anger that I had that you were inadvertently ruining such an important episode. And
why wouldn't you just wake me up?
Because you just go to sleep again. So it's like it's a losing battle. A lot of times when you go to sleep, I cough really loudly. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but I do fake coughs to wake you up. Here's the thing is, like, I don't like waking people up from sleeping, because if you're sleeping, you're probably tired. So I feel bad just being like, get up. But sometimes it's during the Sopranos series finale, and I think what made me so mad is I was not just angry, I was almost dumbfounded at the fact that we watched the whole series and you were sleeping through the series finale.
Sleeping through the series finale?
Yeah. Because in my mind, I was like, even if I was tired, I would like hold myself awake for such a great show because I respect it enough to watch it end.
You respected it.
But you were just sort of like, fuck this show, fuck Cooper, fuck everyone, I'm just going to go to sleep.
Well, that was my intention. That's why I went to sleep.
And it is funny when people who snore go to sleep. Because I've noticed, not just with you, but a lot of people who snore, is that you people will just fall asleep anywhere like a time bomb and just ruin situations as if you don't snore. And then what's even better is after you have ruined The Sopranos, you wake up and have the audacity to go, oh, why'd you stop the show? Well, I think because you've soiled it is why. Because it was so hard, because I would sit there and I would try and focus on the show, but then you're like, and I can't focus on it because, like, it's not even the snoring at that point. It's like it's the fucking rage of, like, it's fucking like Edie Falco is acting her ass off.
Well, I think I start snoring when I feel like not like entertained or like in it.
No, you start snoring when you sleep. You snore, and you snore almost immediately, and you set up a joke for yourself. That's kind of how you sound when you snore too. That is kind of how you sound. And it also does pick up. Sometimes you do this thing where, like, you're snoring and then you go, or you go, and, like, you get, like, loud. And then it starts to worry me because I'm like, is he, like, dying like Jerry Garcia of sleep apnea? I don't know.
You done?
Kinda, yeah. It felt really therapeutic to get that out because I've started writing jokes about it. But it felt good to
You're a fucking psycho.
No. I have severe anger issues, but I think that's pretty warranted. Because
I was snoring.
Through the series
on the couch. Finale. When you know that I'm comfy cozy and I've got 2 pillows and a blanket on a soft couch.
It was 3 p.m.
Yeah, but in those days, that's when we'd be going to bed.
Okay, that was like 5 days ago.
Yeah.
It's just like, I think most people who are listening to this are like, I get it. Like, I know
No, go ahead. You know you what?
I was going to say, I know I have, like, real bad anger issues, but I think most people listening to this are like, I get it. Series finale of Sopranos, I could deal with the season finale. I could deal with like season 4 finale. I could be like, whatever. Well, not whatever, but I'd be like, I'll power through. But this one, I was like, this show deserves my attention. It's well written. Once again, Edie Falco.
You don't want the show interrupted.
No. Is that crazy?
No. In fact, that brings me to a point I have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Since we're trading little things.
Yeah, please.
Cooper, you talk about shows being interrupted. How many times a goddamn episode do you have to go pee? And do we have to stop the show? No. Let me explain.
Sure, explain.
So, Cooper, on average, especially if he's had a drink or if he's had any liquid in his body,
mostly
has to go to the bathroom. But it's not like, oh, I'm going to go once during the episode or even like once, and since I'll only be gone for a minute, just keep the TV show rolling. I have to pause an hour episode, not exaggerating, at least 5 times. That's once every 10 minutes where I have to be pulled out from the excitement of the episode to wait 3 minutes for you to have your little pee session.
3 minutes is an exaggeration.
2 minutes.
At most.
2, sometimes 3, because then you're like, oh, get a glass of water, or do this.
Since I'm already down there, I don't want to pause it twice.
But it's at least 5, sometimes more, an episode. So you were talking about how you don't like it when...
You're so wrong, and I can't wait to explain why.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because, okay, that's another thing. Cooper, you think you have all the answers, but
true.
You don't.
I'll concede to that, but this time I know I'm right.
That's what you say every time. Just because you say, this time I know I'm right.
I don't say that every time.
You say that a lot more than you think you do.
Or you done?
And you think that you know a lot more than you do, and that you have the authority or the intelligence to, or you know what it is? It's like, I have all this like self-awareness about myself, and yet I do all these shitty things, but I'm aware of it, so it validates me, and it doesn't, I don't have to be responsible for it anymore because I'm self-aware about it.
That's not true.
Oh.
No, what it is I try to be aware.
Oh, yeah, I beat my wife.
No, what it is I try to be aware of it, and then I fuck up continuously, and then I think about...
Yeah. See, even your answer is, I know what it is. And that's arrogance.
Yeah, I have a lot of arrogance. I keep telling you I'm a bad person, and everyone I know, and no one fucking believes me.
That's self-pity.
I'm telling you that I'm bad, and I cannot get better, and I won't!
That's self-pity.
But what I'm fucking talking about with the snoring is that when I have to pee... I pauses, so you don't ruin the show. When you fucking snore, I have to pause it and not be furious.
So let's say
while you fucking snore through the goddamn show.
Okay, well let's say...
Imagine if every... No, shut up for 5 fucking seconds. Imagine if we were watching a show and then I just started going, That's what you do when you snore. When I pee, you pause it, you don't lose the plot. And that's why you're wrong. Because you can focus on the plot.
And that's all you ever wanted to get to,
paused.
right? Was that Cooper's right and Dylan's wrong. That's great.
In that case, sure.
And by the way, that last outburst was going to be super funny on the podcast.
It will, actually.
Yeah. I'm sure that people seeing rage over snoring is hilarious.
It will be.
It's not.
Anger issues are funny to people because of how pathetic it is.
This self-diagnosis is such...
That's not a self-diagnosis.
Is like ridiculous.
That's not a self-diagnosis.
And now this isn't even funny because it's gotten to a point where it's so angry that it can't be funny.
Well, because you started like talking about my character and how I'm like so unaware and a piece of shit. And I was agreeing with you, but then you acted like I wasn't.
Likewise. This is a draw in the episode. You know, and this kind of goes to what I was saying earlier. But you know what? If you want to get mad about my snoring, that's fine. next time I fall asleep, kindly wake me up, and I'll go downstairs and sleep, so that you don't get enraged.
The thing is, I would feel bad about waking you up and telling you go downstairs.
Not as bad as I feel about hearing this.
Really?
Yeah. Do you realize what you just did?
What did I do?
Do you realize, like, your body language and pitch of voice and tone? How it got ridiculous?
Well, at first it was to be funny, but then I got defensive and angry.
And you know.
I'm not saying I think I'm right about it.
Goddamn, Cooper. This episode is derailed, and it's partially my fault for even bringing stuff up about you.
I mean, you gotta know that I'm at least trying to be better. I've known for a while that the awareness means nothing. I don't think the awareness makes me better. I've never thought that.
But do you think the self-awareness is... If I'm being honest, sometimes it feels like your self-awareness is a tool to be like, well, now it's okay because I'm self-aware about it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's like it's never intentional, but that's always the worst part, that it's never intentional. That's how people keep, like, manipulating themselves and other people, because you don't realize it's, you don't realize it's happening.
That what's happening?
That you're using the awareness to not get better. And then you do realize that you're using the awareness to get better. But then you're sort of in the same cycle of just being aware of it.
So, tell me, Cooper, how are we supposed to move forward in the episode after that?
I think we're on the way.
Are we?
I don't know, we just had a bit of an honest discussion about it without me getting furious, so that's a step.
You got furious.
I did.
Yeah.
I got very furious.
Why did you get furious?
Well, I think you're right about everything you were saying, but you were saying it in a way as if I had no awareness of it, and I do, but once again, it doesn't help. No, that I think I'm like, I know everything. But you were saying it in a way of like, oh, this is going to blow your mind. You don't know this.
I think that wasn't what I was trying to convey.
What were you trying to convey?
At all. I was trying to convey my point, but it wasn't in a way of like, aha, got you.
Sure, but did you think that I had like no idea?
Maybe.
Okay, well, then I think I deserve a little more credit. Which is, once again, is also part of the wanting to be right. Do you know how many times on this trip I have realized that I can probably never be able to get married?
See,
in a funny way.
That's what I get angry at you about.
For the pity?
Well, it's not just like pity, it's like you get so hard on yourself. And part of that is pity. But like another part is like you describe yourself as being the worst, but you're not, and you probably know that you're not. You're human.
I don't know. I think that's the struggle, though. I mean, yeah, I guess at a certain level I know I'm not, but also I think the idea of telling myself that I'm not seems also part of not trying to be better. I mean, it's sort of a hard cycle of like realizing your problems, but then not hating yourself for them. And it's hard for me to do that. It's hard to be like, oh, this is a problem, and then to not want to kill myself for it.
Like, do you want to kill yourself for it?
Not really. I think I'm more, like suicidality over suicidal. Like, I think about it a lot. and I make like plans, but not like real plans. It's more like long term. It's like, well, once the parents are gone, that won't hurt them. You know. Like today, I was thinking about sort of like, what if I moved to New York, which I don't like that city, but what if I moved there, and since it's so compacted that I was able to become sort of like faceless and just in the crowd, and then just work a job I sort of don't like, and then just live in like a small apartment, and then just sort of live there either until I die or kill myself. But what's embarrassing about that is that is a completely 20-year-old stupid thought. Like, it has no basis in any reality. It's just sort of like, like absolutism or whatever you want to call it. Is absolutism a word?
Yeah, but it's like absolutism.
Yeah.
Absolutism.
Yeah. But that's my problem is I realize what I'm doing. Like what you were saying of like, I realize that I think being aware means something. And then instead of doing anything about it, that's just like another thing to get down on myself for. Sort of a building thing.
Let's really dive in. Let's give the pork butt listeners what they want.
It's too late.
Maybe they don't want this, but
I think if they
I think this was an appropriate time as ever to point out our flaws.
Sure.
And there's going to be bursts of anger from both sides, and there's going to be a lot of hurt. But I think at the end, it's going to be for the better.
Sure.
I'm also on my third drink.
And I'm also, I'm on my third.
So, I told you some of your flaws, or expressed some of the things that I got annoyed with.
Yeah.
Return the favor. Because snoring and peeing a lot are pretty surface level things that aren't really controllable.
Yeah. I don't think you communicate well how you feel sometimes.
Go on.
Well, there's been a lot of times in this cabin where you've been mad or annoyed at me, rightfully so. And I'm sort of aware of that. And so sometimes I'll be like, is anything wrong? And then you'll be like, no. And I know there's something wrong, and I figure that you probably don't want to talk about it, but instead you just say no. And I'm like, well, if he just said, yeah, I'm kind of angry at you, but I don't want to talk right now, then I'd be like, okay, then I won't talk. So like a lot of times when your emotions, you leave people to infer them instead of communicate them. Like one night I remember that we haven't spoken about, which is still really confusing to me. And maybe it's a huge lack of awareness on my part. But we were watching The Sopranos. And then you were like, I want to make food. And then I was like, well, why don't you wait an episode to make food? And then you just decided to make food. And I was like, okay, he's going to make food. I'll wait. And it was the day that you made the mashed potatoes. And you were like really quiet and like obviously kind of pissed off for like however long it takes to make mashed potatoes, which was like a solid 4 hours. And there was a couple times where I was like, you all right? And you were like, yeah. And I was like, do you need any help? And you were like, no. And that was like all we said for 4 hours. And I don't know what happened because I don't remember specifically annoying you, but it's like something happened where you got bugged. And then there was like, or maybe you didn't get bugged. I don't know. Lack of communication. And then I didn't know what was going on for hours.
If I communicated all of my thoughts with everybody, I wouldn't have friends.
I'm not saying all of them. I mean, if you're mad at me, I don't need you to tell me like, I just thought of murdering you. But if you were like, I'm angry at you. And I think that's my problem is I communicate too much, too fast. And that's why, you've done a lot of, jokes where you'll, mess with me. And then too easily, I'm like, you're bothering me. I don't appreciate this. I feel duped. And then it takes all the fun out of it. So there's a balance. But my question is, what happened on the mashed potato day?
We were watching The Sopranos. And you know what I think it was?
What?
And this is what I remember.
Yeah.
So this is only partially what I remember.
Well, if you remember, it's probably it, I feel like.
I remember little aspects of it. We were watching The Sopranos, or whatever we were watching, and I wanted to make food, and you were like, no, let's wait an episode. I was frustrated at you, but I was also frustrated at me, because we were getting in this cycle of, like, we weren't eating anything, we weren't making anything that we ate was, like, cereal, milk, and chips. And It was really bumming me out.
Right.
And I just wanted to make something so I felt like a human.
Right.
And it felt like not only did you not want to help with that, was that you were going to keep on watching regardless as I tried to do this thing. And sway me to not do something that made me feel human again.
Right.
And that's why I was upset. Because I was like, if we wait another hour, we're definitely not going to do it.
Yeah.
This is a thing we need to do now. And it felt like by you saying no, you didn't afford me the respect of waiting for me. And you kept on watching The Sopranos. And that's fine. Because I was making mashed potatoes. And I was just going to make them regardless. It felt like you were trying to sway me from doing something that I needed to do to feel good.
And that is all I needed to hear, Dylan.
Do not be sarcastic right
It's not. No, and see, that's what I'm talking about. If you would have told me that, I would have been like, I feel you. And can I say two things? Not to be right, because there is no right in this, but can I say two things?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the sentence to preface something. Anyway, go ahead.
First off, once again, there is no right and wrong. I'm being a little more of an asshole because we're on the show. I want to make that clear. I didn't keep watching The Sopranos. Because you were like, you can keep watching it. And I was like, I don't want to keep watching it without you. So I watched I Am Divine, which is the story about the drag queen that worked with John Waters. And then second off, I asked you if you needed help a few times. And then you said no. And then,
because at that point, it was too late.
And then third off, part of why I got angry during that time was because there had been a few other times where I was like, oh, I want to make food. And then you were like, no, let's keep watching. So there was a part of me that was confused and worried and just wanting to get into the mind of Dylan. And I couldn't because you wouldn't let me in.
You know what? Can I say something?
Yeah.
This is kind of the thing. Why our communication hasn't been 100%. And I agree with you that sometimes I don't communicate when I'm feeling frustrated.
Yeah.
But that's mainly because I'm so mad that I just need to get away.
And that's what I figure it is. Because I'm like, he just needs to not be near me. But I think the reason, and I almost like I know I'm annoying you, but I ask it because like I need to have some bearing on the situation. That's why I ask, like, is anything going on? And it's not even for you to say yes or no. It's just to gauge how you answer. And then I'm like, okay. So I figure it's like that.
This is what I've concluded. Sometimes, and I have a problem with communication outside of our friendship.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's been times where I've been visibly angry or upset or sad.
Yeah.
And sometimes it seems like you don't really ask me a lot of questions. And maybe that's because you don't know whether or not to ask questions. But sometimes I feel like I ask you a lot more questions than you ask me questions.
That's interesting. Because I feel like sometimes when I get angry, you dismiss my feelings because of my age and the way that I overreact. And then I feel like I'm not allowed to feel my feelings. And then try my best to suppress them, which I'm not good at. But wait, when were the times that I didn't ask you enough questions?
There was a time, maybe a week ago, where I said, maybe a week or two ago, and we were outside, and I said, today is going to be, I have to do some stuff, and today is going to be a really hard day for me.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, today is going to be a hard day for me.
Yeah.
It's like, that was my invitation for you to ask more about it, or maybe inquire why I would say something like that, because I rarely say stuff like that. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm more emotional than I think I am, but I think for the most part, whenever I have problems, I keep them in, but that was me sending a cry to help of sorts to say, hey, ask me why I just said that. But instead, it felt like the conversation went to you.
That's really funny about that situation. Because I guess in my mind, that was your way of sort of saying it all. Of like, in my mind, it was kind of your way of being like, I don't really want to talk about it, but it's going to be a tough day, so be prepared. And then I did the thing that assholes do, which I've heard people chalk it up to like, well, this is how empaths talk. It's just assholes of being like, well, he said what he's going to said. So I will try and relate to him by being like, I understand because I also feel that way.
But that's not empathy.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it is that. I'm saying people who call themselves empaths say that. That's just where I'm saying it's coming from. But that's interesting because in that situation, my thought was sort of like, I viewed it as a way that you wouldn't really want me to ask you. That you were sort of saying like, this is the deal. That's the deal.
No. In fact, it was the opposite. I wanted you to ask. But it felt like a lot of the times, and I could be wrong, and this could be in my head, but it seems like whenever I try to say something and open up a little bit, the conversation goes back to not me.
That makes sense. What would you have wanted me to ask you? Just like what's going on?
Why is it a hard day?
Why was it a hard day?
I'm not going to talk about it on the podcast.
Okay. I guess I thought it was more because we were staying up, but maybe that was an oversimplification.
That isn't the reason of, it's a reasonable thing to think. But that was just a time where I was like, I wish Cooper had asked me about something that I was trying to talk about.
Huh.
But then the conversation steered away from it, and then I was like, well, fuck it.
Damn.
That's
so
not
crazy.
It's also not, your fault. It was
No.
partially is me not communicating that, because I know if I had said, I am having a hard day ahead, can we talk about it, you would say yes.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. Because there's like entire marriages that never even get this far.
We're more than married. We're pork butt.
We're pork butt. I think it's been an okay episode so far.
I don't know if this is going to translate.
I think it will, because I think it's interesting to listen to people have these conversations. Because I think we think it's bad because it's gone from like podcast entertainment to a raw conversation about things that we've been boiling on. But I think that's the good Campbell's Chunky Soup,
The real pork butt marinade.
Yeah. We got a little serious last episode. We got to move with it. But I think it's been a good conversation.
Do you think that I belittle you because of your age?
Sometimes. Yeah. I don't think it's on purpose, and I don't even think it's unwarranted. I think really, I think part of the reason I get defensive about it is because I don't feel validated, but a lot of times I think when I feel validated, it's more so people feeding into problems that I have. Like, while we've been here, I've had a lot of times where I've been, like, too dramatic or annoying, and your way of dealing with it has sort of just been kind of like, you know, like, get over it, you know? And I think... There's a spider.
Nice, good kill.
And I think there's some times that I'm like, I feel like I can't even be angry because anytime I'm angry, then it's like, oh, like this young kid is angry again. But then there's other times that I'm like, well, no, like Dylan's just like gone through the same things. So I feel like for him, it's more so like, well, I understand it. And what you probably need is to just try and stop feeling like that. And kind of the best way to stop feeling like that is for someone to just sort of be like, stop feeling like that. But I don't necessarily think it's like an intentional thing you do. I don't think it's like, oh, like it's definitely not like shut the fuck up. But there's definitely been a lot of times where it's like, oh, like you're the young guy and I know more than you. And so the way you're feeling is wrong even though you don't know it. And I agree with all of that. I do. But then there's certain parts of me like, I know it's wrong, but you have to let me feel it to even understand why it's wrong. Mm. But, no, a lot of
we all kill our fathers in the end, don't we?
Exactly.
One day, you will, as much as I might know about things that you're experiencing or haven't experienced, or all that I don't know. As much as I know now, one day he will kill me, and then one day your son will kill you.
Yeah, and I'll be on Lights Out with David Spade. It'll come back, and I'll get on it again.
Well,
no, but a lot of this trip has been just sort of me having to accept that I don't know anything.
You know what it is? I think is I'll be doing like a bit with you, and sometimes you take the bit personally, and I say that it's like get over it. Or, like, give off that energy because, like, it's a bit. Like today, with the Twitter thing.
Yeah. That's fair. I am always very conscious of that. Of, like, I'm definitely in the wrong here. There's been other times where it's, like, more than Twitter. But no, yeah, definitely with the bits. There's been so many times where, like...
Or, like, there's things of, like, obviously... I don't think that way. But it feels like you think I think that. I guess we'd have to get into more specifics for the listeners to understand.
Yeah.
But tell me a time where you thought, like, I pulled rank on you.
I don't even want to call it pulling rank. It's weird because it's like, I know you're right, but then there's a part of me of like, well, you have to understand that inevitably I'm going to feel that way. And that kind of feeds into like the faux awareness thing where like I'll do things that I know are wrong, but partly because I feel like it's good to go through the motions. Like I was having all these issues with my ex-girlfriend where we were like, she was, I don't want to get into her stuff, but like she was having a tough time and it was like, she was kind of like putting some of that on me and it was like affecting me. And then like your answer was always like, oh, well, like stop being stupid, just block her. And in my mind, I was like, I know he's right, but there's also a part of me that is too into the situation, which is so contextualized by like years of a first real relationship that it's very hard to say fuck you to this person. And then eventually I did block her and then like things cooled down and now she's, in a better place and and so there were parts of that where I'm like, I know that he's on my side and he wants the best for me, but it's sort of all coming out in the way of like, just block her, stupid. And I was like, well, I know that that's the right answer, but you have to know that that is like a little tough. I guess what I'm saying is I would have been fine with everything you were saying if there would have been a little caveat of like, I know this is like tough and I get it, but you gotta block her.
I feel like that's interesting because I felt like I was doing that in the past, but the things with your ex, that whole situation spanned over like 3 weeks. So I felt like in the beginning, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I felt in the beginning I was a little more soft with laying down stuff.
Yeah.
But as time went on, I would see you get affected by it and feel shitty about it.
Yeah.
And that made me was like, well, damn, if Cooper just did this, then maybe
right.
he wouldn't feel so shitty all the time. Or not all the time, but like in these situations.
Yeah.
So it got frustrating for me just because I saw how it negatively affected you. And I felt like, but I understand because I've had times, like when I was in my last relationship, where people would tell me what I already knew, but it didn't make me come to that conclusion any faster, or make me take that action any faster.
Yeah.
There's this line, maybe you know it, and it's corny to like pull this out, but it's like a Kid Cudi line. I think it's in a song called Ghost on Man on the Moon 2. But I really like this line in the song. It says, you remember the things that your parents had said, but rather find out the hard way of like someone's trying to give you the right answer, but you have to, in your own head and in your own way, process it to get to that conclusion.
Yeah.
Which is unfair to ask someone to just jump to.
Right. Well, I probably didn't realize that you were being softer because I think I take things too personally. So I probably jumped to just being offended and then just sort of spanned that over the 3 weeks. But no, that's interesting about the Kid Cudi line because that's what I think a lot. And what I kind of talk about in terms of like being aware of things but not changing things is that like I think, and this will probably sound cocky at the beginning, but I think I know a lot of things, but I don't realize a lot of things. In terms of like, I know the answers to things, but I don't have the experience to fully realize them and intake them. Like we've had talks of like, I'm very, like I know that I have an addictive personality, and if I'm not careful about it, it could easily ruin my life like it has other family members in mine. But I haven't realized it because it hasn't, you know? So it's like a lot of those things where it's like you're doing things consciously of like this is bad, but you haven't had the implications of it hit you enough to like actually make a change. And so I guess part of the stuff with the ex was more just me being like, I know this is wrong, but I feel like I have to be wrong to understand why, you know? But it takes so long. You can know you're wrong for so long and then just continue doing things.
Totally.
I don't know. It's weird.
I wonder how much happier people would be if, like... Can you imagine how much better the world would be if as soon as someone realized what they were doing is wrong,
if they just stopped?
Yeah.
That's why I'm so amazed by some people.
Some people have that ability, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always amazed by people that they'll be like, yeah, I started doing this, whatever it is, last year. And I'll be like, oh, why'd you start doing that? And they'll just be like, well, I wanted to. And so the next day I went out and I bought all the stuff to do it. Then I started doing it. I'm like, that is insane. Like, to me, it's like I have so much dumb thinking to do before I get to doing it. That's what I've been trying to do for years, is to prioritize doing over thinking. Because my dad taught me to think too much. That has fucked me up a lot. I'm not putting that on my dad. I mean, a lot of it is, I don't know. I don't want to say it, but I guess, like, bipolar depression stuff. But part of it is, like, overthinking. Which I'm so tired of. People who think a lot are fucking retarded. I mean, I don't like to use that word, but it's the only way I could describe them. Like, people who think a lot are some of the dumbest people in the world. Like, real, like, intellectual, like fucking dumbasses. They don't do anything. Unless you're like a physicist, because your job is thinking a lot.
That reminds me of what you just said. Is like I had an ex that was that way, but there was a way. This was put in a totally like political context, but if it wasn't political, I'd agree. Like, they were saying that it's like liberals can identify the problem but are too lazy to fix it. And like Republicans are like whatever the analogy was. But I think about that, it's like how you're saying is people who think too much. There's this like romantic part in like being you think that it's like intellectual or something.
Yeah.
But it's really not. It's like you could be the smartest. Because I've met so many, and that's the first person I dated in college. They had a brilliant mind, but they were so caught up in the over-analyzing everything that they never did anything. They had all these grand ideas and like amazing thoughts on how to do things, but it's almost like their analysis was their crutch at the same time as it being their strength.
Yeah, because thinking feels like action, but it's just not.
Right.
Like, really smart people know how to think just enough. Really smart people are like, I'll think enough as I need to, and then I will do. Because, like, not to sound like a fucking billionaire mindset Instagram account, but it's like nothing has ever gotten done by thinking. Like, everything is action. Everything is doing.
Right.
That's why I respect my mom.
Ideas are cheap, right?
Yeah. Because, like, growing up, my mom was always, like, the very surface level happy person. Like, her father shot himself with a shotgun. She doesn't fucking talk about it, you know? And then my dad is, like, talking about his emotions too much and, like, way too into stuff. And then I, like, took after him too much, and he was like, oh, well, your mom, it's so easy for her. She just fucking, you know, like, she just all duckies and chickies every day. And then I used to be like, oh, yeah, that's kind of true. But then I grew up and I was like, yeah, because she fucking makes the choice to, you know? And it's like, she, like, chose to separate from him, got out, got her own place, got a new boyfriend, got the house with the pool, you know what I mean? And it's like, and, like, yeah, there was some stuff of, like, oh, well, she didn't, like, totally, like, support after. The point is, it's like she fucking did shit. And, like, my dad, like, fucked up his life for a little because, like, he didn't, you know? And, like, you know, chances are he's listening to this. He's a big fan of me. So I do want to say that now he's in the doing stage.
Hi, Mr. Lydon. I'm really glad you're listening.
Dylan's been a big fan of my dad. He's been talking about fucking him a lot.
I'm really trying to fuck Cooper's dad because I think he's probably a grand guy, but more than anything, I just want you to have to call me your father. I think
that's what hurts me is that you're using my father. You don't
even
appreciate him for who he is.
Both. I appreciate your father more than you know, Cooper.
What do you like about him?
Well, we only met once.
Do you like his poetry?
Well, you've never showed me his poetry, but I'm sure it's amazing because your father's an amazing, well-rounded man who's overcome adversities and raised 2 children and has a job. And it's like, why would you not want me to be happy, even if it's with your father? And it might be uncomfortable at first.
Can I say something that's going to piss you off?
Just go.
I've been holding my pee for 35 minutes. I'm going to go pee.
Yeah.
And then we're going to come back.
No, just let me keep talking while you go pee.
Okay. Yeah, talk about my dad a little. Just talk about it.
Okay.
You can see how I don't pee for that long.
He's going to rush it now. But
I'm not going to rush it.
Mr. Lydon, when Cooper was dropped off before quarantine even happened, we were like, we're going to go to my cabin somewhere in the middle of America, and we're driving, so Mr. Lydon drops off Cooper, and there was just like a little spark. It wasn't much, but he said hi, because we were loading stuff into my trunk, Cooper's stuff, so that we could get on the road. And there was this little spark, and he said, "Hey, you guys gonna be okay? You guys good with this cabin?"
Under a minute.
And I said, "You didn't flush and you didn't wash your hands, but that's
I
besides."
flushed.
You didn't wash your hands, but that's fine.
I didn't touch my penis.
But that's fine. I was just saying how when your dad dropped you off so that we could go, there was like this little exchange where he's like, "Dylan, where's this cabin?" And I told him where it was, and he said, "Okay, just keep Cooper safe." I said, I remember this distinctly. I said, "Mr. Lydon, you've done a wonderful job raising your child."
Did not say that.
And I said this. I said, "If your parental skills are anything like your cock, I'm in."
I don't remember you saying that to my father.
Anyway, that was just a little thing that your father and I discussed.
I don't think he said
And I think
Cooper
you need
safe.
to call him more, Cooper. I do. Because your father works hard, and I work hard too, to give you a life that I never had.
Well, me and my father are on pretty good terms considering things.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're not. Your father is a great man.
What's his name?
Oh, don't even get into that.
I think you knew it like a few days ago. What is it?
Live, laugh, learn. That's his Instagram.
It's not even his Instagram.
It's something like that.
Close.
When your father and I are in the same room, we don't need names. We don't need words.
Yeah, but you still gotta get to know each other.
Yeah, that's coming in time. We got a courtship. I think if I play...
don't think there's a courtship.
I think if I play all my cards right, you're going to be waking up Christmas morning to find your father and I waiting by the tree for you to open your presents.
How would you feel if you actually fucked my dad, but then he didn't want to date you?
I would be destroyed. I would say, "This is the 4th time this has happened." and I'm sick of it.
Mr. Lydon.
And then I would go for your mom.
She's pretty happily in a relationship.
Anything can change.
I don't know. He's got a good job. And
What does he have that I don't?
he has a very successful business and
So do I.
a house in Boston on the beach.
I have a house in North Carolina.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Does your family have a cabin there or something?
I have an estate that I visit sometimes. You should come next time.
Is it owned by you?
Yes. I'm the sole owner.
You sure it's not your father?
Nope. It's all Dylan's money. Dylan's on the title, which means it's Dylan's property.
Did they actually put you on the title?
I put myself on the title, Cooper.
How'd you get the money?
I don't like to talk about those things.
What part of North Carolina is it in?
Clemson.
That was pretty quick.
College town.
Clemson's in North Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
That was in Alabama.
No.
Ugh, gosh. Is that true? Is there really a house in North Carolina that you have access to?
I'd rather not talk about it. But we should take a trip there once this is all over.
I mean, sure, but like...
It's a fun place.
Is it in the woods? Is it like scenic? Or is it just a house?
It's just like in a suburb.
Really?
In a college town. It's pretty nice. It's like an older house.
Does your family rent it?
No. It's like a place.
You just own it and it just sits there?
It's my property.
What do you do with it?
I just have it.
Are you going to sell it?
No, but I've been thinking about like Airbnbs. But then at the same time, it's like it's in a college town, so I don't want some like shitty college kids renting it and like fucking it up.
But you didn't buy this.
Yeah.
How?
Cooper, I don't want to have to tell you the ways that I and my family have made money throughout the years.
And your family.
Well, yeah, I definitely get help in terms of connections of people to talk to.
But you have real estate holdings. I feel like I've talked about real estate and wanting to own it a couple times on this trip. I find it odd that you have not brought up that you have your own real estate that you could potentially sell.
A house. It's nothing to, like, bat your eye out.
Well, yeah, but if you're this age and you sell a house, you can use that to grow.
Right, but then what's the point of owning a house or selling a house so close to after what I've owned it for the first time?
When did you buy it?
2014.
What? What is this about? When did you have the money for this? At 20 years old, you bought a house?
No, it wasn't when I was 20.
You're 26.
I'm like 21. So maybe it was 2015.
How? What?
I don't know why this is so shocking to you.
It's shocking to me.
I've made investments from an early age, and I've had some other streams of income that I've been able to invest in a house. And then another plot of land, but there's no house on it, it's just land.
You don't have much money right now, though. You have enough, but you don't have much. So what's with this real estate business?
You don't know. You don't actually know my financial stuff.
Well, I've heard conversations on the phone that give me an inkling.
Right.
To the fact that you don't have complete income you don't have income to support yourself completely, which is fine.
No, I can support myself completely, but I've been talking about paying rent on the apartment that I have in LA from the checks that I'm getting from the Comedy Store.
Well, what about all the other stuff?
I'm not going to liquidate my assets to fucking...
Well, what are you going to do with them? Do you plan on flipping it and selling and buying bigger properties and growing your real estate industry?
Eventually. But not now.
When do you think you'll sell this house from 2014?
When the market turns back around. I think we're just starting to see the beginning of it. So I don't think selling right now is an appropriate time. Buying now would be a great time. Or buying in 2-3 months from now.
What is happening? I'm so confused.
I don't get it. We shouldn't even be talking about it. I don't like.
It's so funny because we went from so honest to just what seems like a complete lie.
You're right. It's a complete lie. Let's move on.
It is?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, now the way you're talking about it sounds like it's real and you don't want to talk about it.
I don't know what you want.
What's funny is I have been playing this game, BitLife, which is a life simulator.
Yeah, tell listeners about BitLife.
BitLife is this really cool game with a lot of different options where you can become like president or a famous actor. Or
it's like a game where you go through life.
You can go through life.
Make a bunch of choices.
Yeah, and you can do like a lot of the things that you can do in life. It's so varied to the point that it's kind of boring. But you can also pass on your life to your child. So what I've been doing is passing on generational wealth through generations. And I deleted the game because it's too addicting. But through acting careers and real estate investments, I was able to pass on a total of like $283 million to one of my grandchildren. And what was interesting about the game is that I learned that the easiest ways to be rich are to have generational wealth and to be famous. And that's even better for a lot of people because if your parents were famous, then you have generational wealth and generational fame. So if your parents were famous, you deserve nothing you ever get in your life. I want to be very clear about that.
Oh, that's a little unfair.
It is unfair and heavy-handed, but if Chet Hanks makes $1 billion...
Wasn't it Kylie Jenner who became a billionaire.
Yeah, but she couldn't have done that without the capital that she was born with.
Yeah, but I mean, like...
Also, who's to say it was even her?
Comparatively, even with that sort of capital to make investments, she still took the initiative to make a company and brand for herself. I don't think that...
I'll see that point, but also I feel like she's so surrounded by people, I think it's weird to just say she did it. I mean,
no billionaire does it alone. Just look at the successful meme pages on Instagram. You gotta have friends to make money. And once you get money, you're gonna have friends.
I liked one of those billionaire pages, because I follow a lot of them that I think are written by people.
They're so dumb. They're written by poor people. It's a picture of a hot guy in a tux
with a beard
who clearly doesn't have $1 billion,
yeah.
Who was an actor who probably got $70 for that shoot.
It's like guys from like a GQ mag or something, but even like worse than GQ. It's like guys in 3-piece suits with a beard. It's always like they always look vaguely alt-right if you kind of think about it. Not to put that on them. And then it's run by these guys. They're always called like, I follow one that I think is called, they're also really sexist. One is called like Male Soul, and another one is called like the Bad Boy Club. And they're written by people who...
What's that one club? Billionaire Boys Club?
Yeah, but that's Pharrell's company.
But it's like that line of thinking. It's like these people that are like, buy a $200 shirt and talk about your hustle.
Yeah. But what's funny about Billionaire Boys Club is like that is sort of playing into it of like, oh, like it's like purposefully gaudy. Like, you know, like Pharrell, like if you look at his clothes, they're like very like overblown, and the fun part is being aware of it. But what's funny about these pages is the pure belief in this bullshit. And so there's all these like statements that are supposed to be really simple but sum up big things. But a lot of times they either don't sum up big things or don't make sense at all. One of my favorites was one I saw yesterday, which was, don't judge a man by his face because he may have a sexy dick. And that was like a big don't judge a book by its cover thing.
God.
But what's funny is I think a lot of the people that write these are like English second language because there's a lot of grammatical errors and sometimes misspellings. Like,
didn't you reach out to one of them?
I reached out to one, yeah. And I said, because when I reach out to these crazy people, which they are, I like to sort of start off with a compliment because they're, and not to assert any superiority, but they're so stupid that they would believe the compliment. So I start off and I'm like, hey, I love your page. What is your job? So I text this guy, I love your page. What is your job? And then he responded. Should I just get my phone and kind of read it?
Yeah.
It's right here. Let me just grab it.
And can you read them a couple of the memes that he posts? Because that's really important, too.
Yeah. So this one is I talked to the guy from the Bad Boy Club, which was recommended to be my Killian McCaskey. He's another great comedian. So these are not hand-picked hilarious ones, but these are just kind of the first three. So this is a picture of a guy in a suit. Oh, it's Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street, which I want to say...
Which everyone uses as like their I'm going to be successful memes.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I never like to try and be this guy of like, oh, this piece of art changed the world. I think the piece of art that I have seen have the greatest effect on society in my life has to be, hands down, Wolf of Wall Street. I don't know if you felt it. I was in high school when it came out, and after it came out, so many people I knew. It's like the world divided. The world divided into like kids that wanted to do anything else but business and kids that wanted to do business. And all of the dumbest people I knew, literally just the dumbest motherfuckers, all of a sudden were like, I am going to start a multimedia marketing company.
I'm going to be a hedge fund.
Yeah, hedge fund manager. And they would talk about shit they don't know about. And then they would invest like $300 in some shitty stock and lose it all. And something about the Wolf of Wall Street got all these people who are really dumb to get into business. And it's because they looked at a guy like Jordan Belfort and they were like, well, he does coke. He's really horny. I can do that. And what they don't realize about a guy like Jordan Belfort is
I do coke and I'm horny.
That's literally what they think. But it's like Jordan Belfort, which is like, he's an asshole, but at the very same time, smart. He's a really smart guy, and he's such a cunt that he knew how to use it. He was like, I don't give a fuck about people, so I'm going to ruin lives and make money. All in all, good for him. The problem with these dumbasses is they're not smart enough to do it. They're just evil. So it's inspired this whole generation of things that I don't even know if these Instagram pages would exist without them. So, okay.
Generation of dumb, stupid idiots.
Right. So it's a picture of Jordan Belfort.
And you ever notice is like, unless the only people, like if you're sharing those memes, you're definitely not successful, and you're definitely not going to be successful.
Yeah.
The only people that share those memes are dumb people who will never make it, and the rich people who know that they can influence dumb people because that's what they think success is. Because that's what they think their audiences will think success is.
Exactly.
If I post Leonardo DiCaprio dancing on a table with the stock market buzzing behind him, and I say, put in 10 years now, get back 100 years later.
Yeah. Well, that's what's so funny.
That's
is
what
like
these dumb fucking idiots will believe.
Yeah. People have started mistaking entertainment for, like, real information.
Right.
And that's what these pages profit
it's like
off.
those are fucking Ty Cruz or whatever.
All of them. They're all bullshit, but they get people in.
All you need to convince people is put a fucking Lamborghini next to a bookshelf.
And then people are like, oh, he's smart. And so,
yeah.
But it's so stupid because it's like all these Instagram pages market themselves as like, this is a billionaire sharing his thoughts.
Right.
And then you look at it and it's not. But like, okay, so this is one. And my thing is if you ask Jeff Bezos how to make money, he would not say, walk like you are a king or walk like you don't care who is a king. He would probably say, invest in real estate or some shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Practical.
Something practical.
Yeah, so the first one is it says, walk like you are a king or walk like you don't care who is a king.
Blue chips.
The second one is a guy with like a Supreme backpack with bleached hair, and it says, when they come back, remember how they left, which is, once again, very vague. Another one is a guy in a vest, and he's pointing at someone, and it says, die with respect, but don't let your respect die. Once again, none of this has anything to do with business, and there's all these stories that say growth, feedback, books, family. Okay, so this is the conversation I had with the guy.
You DM this guy.
I DM this guy. So I said, hey, I love your account. It's so inspiring. What do you do for work? And then he said, thanks, man. And then I said, what do you do for work? And then he said, didn't get you. Straight to the point, please. Which really pissed me off because I was like, this is the epitome of you guys where you don't...
So he's obviously... English isn't his first language.
Exactly. He doesn't get it. So he says...
Because his has a bunch of typos, these memes.
A lot of these... Yeah, I saw one that spelled vagina with an E. So it's like they don't...
Vagina.
Yeah. It was like Chase checks get vagina or something. It was like... I don't know. But it said, didn't get you. Straight to the point, please. And I said, what is your job? And then he said, man, comma, nothing, period. What's the catch? Which is really funny that it's like he doesn't know how to talk, but he just speaks in vague negotiation terms where it's like, straight to the point. What's the catch? And it's like, no, I'm asking you a question, and you're not in. So he goes, what's the catch? And I go, I'm just curious what you do for work. You talk about money a lot, so I wonder what you do for work. And he said, well, it's all online, which is great. I love when people don't describe what they do. They just describe a location. Where it's like, it's all online. It's all, it's all in stock. It's
Dodging the question.
Yeah. So he goes, it's all online. And now I'm a little annoyed and I got a little rude where he says, well, it's all online. And I say, you sound poor. And then he says, and this is the part I love, that he doesn't even keep up with his...
You said, you sound poor.
I just said, you sound poor. And then he said, so I said, you sound poor. And then I love that he just gives up on his bit and he goes, yes, donate me if you can. Should I send you my PayPal? Which I love, where he's just like, I am poor, please give me money. So then I said, I thought you made your own money. That's what the whole account is about. And then he gets really funny where he just goes, will you pay me? And then he says, should I send my PayPal email? And then I said, why would I give you money? And then this is another thing of him trying to sound like he's negotiating. He said, so why are you even asking? Which is like, I'm asking what your job is. If I ask you what your job is, it's not to give you money. So he goes, so why are you even asking? And I said, I'm asking because it wouldn't make sense to give you money. And then he just read it and didn't respond.
Yeah.
I wonder so much about his life, where it's like, where are you? What do you do? Are you like texting off of a burner phone in like Indonesia?
I mean, anyone who makes those accounts or believes that shit is dumb as fuck, and they'll never be rich.
That's what's so funny to me. Is like, it's kind of what we were saying about like thinking is not doing. It's like looking at this page is not making you rich.
Yeah.
I feel like all these guys
or reading
look at
motivational quotes isn't getting you closer to your goal.
Yeah. And it's so funny because it's like, it would be...
Read an actual fucking book.
That's what I'm saying! It would be almost 1,000 times smarter to just, like, read The fucking Secret, or, like, Wayne Dyer or some shit, or, like, a Tony Robbins book.
War and Peace.
Like, it would... Or, yeah, I mean, yeah, even just a regular book.
Investing for Dummies.
Yeah, it would be so much smarter to just read another kind of ripoff just for the fact that you're reading. It's so funny that these guys look at this account and they're like, I'm growing knowledge. And it's like, what do you know? It's like, I know that you gotta chase checks, not women.
Chase checks, not chicks.
That's also the weird part of these accounts, that they're really against men dating women. It's always like...
Well, you can tell that the ideology is also, like, third world.
Yeah.
Like, a little bit, like, sexist. Well, even, you know, some that are. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of sexist. It's like, you want to be rich? Then you're going to have to ignore all these gold-digging whores that are... I was like...
Yeah, it's third...
Most of the people that are rich nowadays are fucking nerds.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I love the ideology of, like, I know that you can fuck all the time, anytime you want.
I spent a lot of time around rich people in my life.
Yeah?
Just in stupid ways.
How so?
Like, even, like, when I was younger, I went to cotillion classes, like etiquette classes. Because I think my parents thought I was going to be, like, a lord.
Hey, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be a lord.
I learned all these, like, stupid party etiquettes.
Right.
But now I know.
Like witch fork and stuff.
Like, for instance, sometimes you'll go, and there'll be, like, a little appetizer plate and a drink. And what you want to do is you balance the drink on the lip of the plate so you can hold your plate and your drink in your left hand. That way you're always available for a handshake.
God, what if it's like a stemmed glass?
Get used to it.
Did you have to do a lot of, like, balancing acts?
Dances, courtships.
Do you still know how to dance?
Not really.
Oh.
I need a refresher course. But then there's also, like, the last person I dated, he was, like, intelligent, and he went to this, like, prestigious school. So I would always meet, like, his, like, it was, like, a private design school. So there was a lot of, like, wealthy, intelligent people and, like, people he knew through the grapevine at all these, like, Silicon Valley type companies. And I would just meet them, and some of them were really cool, but a lot of them were just like, I know you're richer than I'll ever be, but to me, it's worth it if I don't have to be how you're acting.
Were they like the kind of rich people that, like, they're, like, into being casual?
It was like...
it's like, oh, I'm so rich, I'm not wearing a suit kind of stuff?
Yeah, but then it was like they were wearing, like, $200 white t-shirts.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I think that's kind of what I hate about the modern rich, is, like, you kind of have a little more respect for, like, courtly culture, where it's like they're like so dressed up and they look so dumb and they talk in a way just to sound rich and they only eat certain things and they're so into being rich and they're like, we're rich. Everyone who's not rich is a piece of shit. Fuck them all to death. Rich till we die. And now it's like rich people are like, oh, like I wear like ripped jeans and
I'll eat a hot dog.
Yeah, and it's like, fuck you. Be rich. Like, if I was that rich, I would just be like, fuck everyone.
I would never talk to you again.
Yeah, of course. I wouldn't talk to you again. Like if I was born into that money, I would be a piece of shit because I'm supposed to be.
I've met so many fucking people like that. And then, like, even when I was growing up, my friends were, like, super wealthy and stuff, and I was just like, I hate
it.
Who you are.
Yeah.
As a person. Some of them were cool to their credit, but some of them were just like disgusting human beings.
How so?
They were just like...
Is it like faux down to earth?
No, it was like I view poor people as ants or pawns in my game of chess. And I was just like, and I can do what I want. And I know a good Coke guy, and I'm garbage. And I don't have any loyalty. I'll fuck over my friends. And if you're poor, I'm going to sniff it out, and I'm going to make you feel like garbage.
Did they pretend to be not that, or were they upfront?
No, they leaned into it.
Now, do you like that more than the rich people who pretend to care, or that?
I don't know.
Because I understand how it's like on the surface that's more fucked up.
Yeah.
But in a way...
Yeah, it is more fucked up when people pretend like they're down to earth. When it's like, you can't be. As much as you want to be. Like, you're down to earth in the way of like, oh, you can eat a hot dog. You know?
Yeah.
But... You never... It's, that all comes off very fake.
Yeah. Because, like, growing up in the Valley, I was either around kids that were, like... The Valley has a weird wealth disparity where kids will either be, like, pretty poor or, like, very wealthy and just, like, not mention it. And, like, you would go over to people's houses and, like, all of a sudden you're sitting around, like, a fire pit, which is, like, first off, is, like, too much. And not too much, but it's like, you should have mentioned. You know when you go to a kid's house and you're like, you should have mentioned that you're rich.
Yeah.
I don't like that we just showed up. But it's like, we would kind of, it's like, it's all these like kids that are like, oh, I'm so down to earth. Like, I'm just so cool. And it's like, fuck you. Like, if you're born with the money, act like you have the money. Like, I know this sounds like dumb and maybe it's like me trying to be funny, but I think I really mean it where it's like, it pisses me off when rich people try and act like they give a shit. Like, I would love to be friends with a billionaire that was like, I would kill 10 poor people to make $10. Like that, in a way, I'd be like, you're fucked up, but I'm glad I know, and you're more honest than a lot of the people I've ever met. Like, in a way, I have to respect that more than just, like, all these... Because, like, billionaires use the idea of philanthropy, like, since Rockefeller... to, like, cover up all the bad shit they do. Like fucking Warren Buffett, like we were talking about, how he's like, oh, I'm gonna give away all my wealth when I die. It's like, give it away now, you selfish cunt. Like, fuck your life. Other people are dying while you're alive. Thousands of children are gonna die before you're dead. So stop it now, you know? So it's, in a way, it's better to be the guy that's like, I will never give away my money. My money will never go to charity. Fuck everyone else. Than to be the guy that's like, once I die... it will all go... It's like, fuck you. You don't give a shit. Well, that's arguable if you are going to give it away. But, I don't know. I hate the idea of, like, especially with celebrities now, like with the whole, like, Imagine song. Mm-hmm. Everybody who's rich wants to pretend they're not rich. Because we're in the age of, like, fuck the rich. But we're not in the age of let's kill the rich. Because nobody has the gall, or not even the gall, the confidence to do it. I hope we get there. I hope somebody fucking murders Jeff Bezos, but it wouldn't even change anything.
I hope I get the confidence to think that way, and so much so that they're like, just, we'll offer to buy you out to stop talking like that. And I'll say, thank you, that was what I was looking for in the first place. You got it.
Yeah.
You got it, mister. I'm $300 richer, and now I'll never bother you again.
I want to get so rich I give to charity reluctantly. Like, I in my heart, like right now, I know...
Rich people tip 10 to 15% at restaurants.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
But it's like, right now, my feeling is like, oh, if I had money, I think I would disperse it as much as I can. But I fucking play this BitLife game and fuck everyone else, you know? Yeah. So it's like, even in a game, it's fuck everyone else. So I think if I was really rich, I would be giving money to charity reluctantly. Like, if I was so rich and famous, and I was in an interview, and somebody asked me about, like, my philanthropy, they'd be like, oh my God, like, how do you feel about all that? I'd be like, fuck them all to death, but you gotta help out. That's my thought. I think a really nice person is
what's a charity, if you were like a billionaire and you could only donate to one charity, which would you pick?
Maybe something to supply disenfranchised children with access to, like, educational resources. But a lot of those are tough because it's like, we're going to build a center for kids to come get tutored, but then it's also like, well, then you have to build transportation. I think my thing is, if I had, like, Jeff Bezos money, is I don't know if I would donate. I think I would, like, start things. I think I'd be like, I'm going to set up centers across the country for tutoring, but we're going to X out all the variables that would fuck it up. So I'm also going to supply transportation and meals to the children. So, like, it would... Because it's like the fucking, like, Salvation Army is, like, homophobic and, like, lets people die of AIDS and shit. So it's like, or is it Red Cross? I don't know. Both of them are kind of fucked up. So it's like,
Salvation.
Yeah. So it's like, it's hard to donate to a charity and just know that it's going to go someplace, because I think it's like only,
it's so
like,
funny about you bring up Salvation Army of them being, like, homophobic and stuff. It's like, it's really hard for people to believe that when it's like Santa Claus ringing a bell.
Yeah. It's like those guys. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like all the billionaires are like behind the face of shit like Amazon, where it's like, oh, he's a bad guy? All he does is deliver packages.
How much bad would you do to get $300 million?
I don't think I could. I think that's why I won't ever be that rich, because I don't know if I really have the wherewithal. I like to believe that I could stab you in the face to get $100 more, but I don't think I could, you know? Like, I don't... What kind of bad do you mean? Like, worldwide bad or, like, personal bad?
Like, if I said I'm going to give you $300 million, but 6 kids that you don't know in a third world country will die of starvation because of you.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Knowing myself with $300 million in front of me, I might say they're going to die anyway. Give it to me and I'll help save them.
But if you don't take the money, they all live.
I think there's still a part of me that would be like, we all die in the end. I hope not, but I don't know. I also have a weird thing about money, whereas, like, as much as I am a mooch on my parents, there is still a thing that I want to make my own money. So it's like...
You would be making your own money by making that choice.
Yeah, but it's not earned. It's just letting people die. But who's to say that's not more work than 30 years of building up a business?
It's weird, though, because then we get into discussions of, like, morality. It's like, if I give you that scenario of, like, 6 kids are going to die if you take $300 million. But also, if you were the owner of Ford and you put out a vehicle, it's like, people really like this vehicle and they're going to buy a lot of it. It's not the safest car on the road. It's going to lead to...
Yeah.
It's going to lead to probably, we estimate, between 1,000 and 3,000 deaths in the next 10 years. Can you live with that?
Yeah. I think that's how people get rich.
Free market, baby.
The market will decide when these people die. I think that's why it's easy to be a piece of shit billionaire, because it's sort of like, well, if it's not me, it's somebody else. But I like to think that if I was given $300 million, I would donate at least, and I mean at least 50 to, like, humanitarianism. Honestly, if I had $300 million, I might throw around 100 at charity. Probably not, but like, I mean, if I
wouldn't give a goddamn dime.
You would say fuck it.
I would buy Girl Scouts.
What?
The entity, Girl Scouts.
Why?
So that I could just have like a warehouse of cookies that I could just go to.
That's your move.
And I'd build it in the middle of the desert, you know? And I'd have like 5 Humvees like take me to it, and I'm the middle Humvee, so if any shit happens, you know, to the front or the back, I'm like covered for a little bit.
Like a pan out shot.
Yeah.
You go into
just
the warehouse.
5 Humvees driving through the desert to a giant warehouse.
What a shitty movie that would be.
Yeah.
It starts off all serious, and then you show up, and it's like, it's fucking Girl Scout cookies?
Yeah. And all the mint chocolate, all the Thin Mints are in the freezer.
There's a big freezer.
Yeah. And in the middle of the warehouse is one table with like white linen. Like cloth.
That makes sense.
Tablecloth.
Tiny table.
Yeah, just for me.
Like kind of small.
Yeah. Just enough for a plate for cookies and a glass of milk.
You have better answers to how to spend money than me, I'll tell you that much. That's good.
There's a couple of... I feel like if I won millions and millions of dollars, I would spend a lot of my money on elaborate pranks.
That's really cool.
A lot of money.
Because I don't think enough people are doing that.
They're not.
I mean, I guess there's like Dan Bilzerian and Logan Paul, but that's always sort of like
stupid YouTube bullshit.
They're like cool with the pranks.
Yeah.
Like you can't be cool with, like, you would just be like,
what if we got Heidi Klum to ask out this 17-year-old to prom?
Wouldn't that be crazy? And you would just be like,
not really. I mean, it's crazy in the fact that, yeah, it's crazy that you would go the lengths to hire that. But it's not wild.
And you're just like, all right, what if we got Heidi Klum to eat shit? Yeah. People are like, what? And you're like, we're going to give her $3 million. She can't refuse it. She has to eat dog shit on NBC. And you're like, NBC? You're like, I bought it.
I would. My friends would be in real trouble if I made hundreds of millions of dollars.
You have tormented me with no money at this cabin.
So just imagine
you've
what I could do.
You've locked me out multiple times.
Yeah, but that's basic.
That's what I'm saying.
About psychological pressure.
I'm saying, imagine if you had money. You would like hire like faux hitmen to follow me.
That would be a great prank. It's like every quarter, like every 3 months, I would hire a hitman to just shoot a bullet through the window, and it would miss, like every time.
Yeah.
But every 3 months on the mark, there'd just be a bullet that just flew into your house and got like real close.
How would you feel if it like winged me or killed me?
Like, if it winged you, I wouldn't feel bad.
What if like he's about to shoot and then I like wake up and just go right into the like sight line?
Well, I hire hitmen that don't make those mistakes.
Oh, but everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has
mistakes. Okay, then I have a paramedic waiting in the beginning, at the bottom, just in case.
You would have to find a down-ass paramedic.
Yeah.
Like an off-the-clock EMT with an ambulance that he stole.
Yeah, we pay him in heroin.
I do love the rich mentality of anything's possible. Where it's just sort of like they almost don't accept reality. Where it's like, oh, that package can't get there in 2 days. It's like, what can $50,000 do?
Yeah.
I like that mentality of like that real rich shit of like, no. There are no no's in my life. There is only prices. And like just fucking, man. There's a real dark side to me, but I don't think I could really access it in that way.
That's why you gotta give your money to Nate Cooper.
I think, though, if I had a bunch of money, you know what I wouldn't invest in charity. I would invest in practices to actually build up a country long term, which is what fucking Kennedy tried to do with the United Fruit Company, except instead...
Here you go about Kennedy again.
Listen,
he was a great man.
Well, he made mistakes.
But so does everybody.
Yeah, but his mistakes, like, economically enslaved an entire country still today.
Name a president who didn't.
Jimmy Carter.
Here we are about Jimmy Carter. Don't get me started about Jimmy Carter.
I would invest
If
in
he's
farming
the last
technology.
good president you can think of, then that's a problem in itself.
I don't know. I mean, you can't really say any of, like, the first 20 or, like, the first 15 because they, like, all own slaves. Like, I was gonna say, like, I don't think George Washington did anything, but I was like, he owned a shit ton of slaves.
Every president has done something bad. And the morality changes every year that we progress.
It is funny, the turn on Obama.
Yeah.
People loved Obama, but now he's kind of the same as everyone else.
That's what they're saying.
He's a war criminal in everyone else's eyes, which is
true. But so is everybody. War is America, baby.
Makes a lot of money. War is one of probably the biggest business in the world.
When people are in war, economy is profitable. That's what might be scary. What if... So we're headed towards a recession or depression, basically, because of COVID. Apparently, or this could be just sensational news. Who knows anymore? What if they start... Wouldn't it make sense for a president to start a war if a country was doing bad financially to boost the economy?
Well, since we can start wars wherever we want, why don't we start a war in a place that's not a big deal?
You know
Luxembourg.
Who I really wish we would start a war with?
Australia?
No, I like Australia.
Oh, come
on. I went to Copenhagen once. And I had the worst time of my life.
Where's Copenhagen?
It's in northwestern Europe.
Is it Belgium?
No, it's now I feel dumb.
Fuck it. Is
Denmark. Sorry.
It's in Denmark. I was going to say, is it Denmark? Okay.
I went to Copenhagen, Denmark.
You didn't like it?
No, I hated it.
Why?
I thought it was... Everyone knew... I mean, this is my own fault, for... In some ways. They knew I was American because of my weight, and they exploited me, and they were very rude to me. There was a couple of very nice people, but a majority was rude, and it was boring. There was no nightlife.
That's interesting.
It wasn't exciting at all. And you know what? Something I learned about Copenhagen is whenever I would say thank you, no one would say you're welcome. And that really bugged me. And my boyfriend at the time and we were going to the airport to leave Copenhagen to go to London, I think. And they were like, you weren't here in time, so we can't refund you, and we hate you. They were very uppity, and they carried that assumption that a lot of Europeans carry about Americans. About, like, Americans being, like, gun-toting whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't even know me.
Right.
I went to private liberal arts school.
Yeah.
I'm gay.
That'd be funny if
you might think you're goddamn liberal because you're in Europe and you're in Denmark, but you weren't called a faggot by anybody.
That'd be funny if when
you piece of shit.
That'd be funny if when they're being rude to you, you were like, I'm gay. This is my boyfriend.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you have to say about that?
You think I support who you think I support? You motherfucker. No. Yeah, you're not making assumptions at all. We're the judgmental one. A lot of people in Copenhagen, they were very prejudiced and not accepting.
Europe is like a great place in a lot of ways, but also a bag of shit in almost many more.
I loved London. We were treated well in London. We were treating well in Amsterdam. We were treating very well in Spain. That's the place to be.
Really?
Cooper,
I have my qualms with Spain and Portugal.
Oh, I love Spain, dude. Well, I mean, I went to a couple cities in Spain, Malaga, and I remember outside of Malaga is this town, this like sea town called Torremolinos, and it's like this club. It's like a kind of like Miami almost. But anyway, there's this big strip of like gay bars and clubs. And so we went there and I got treated like a god there.
Really?
It was amazing. I felt like I was desired in Torremolinos.
I wonder what it was that drawn them to you.
Being American and big. They loved me there.
Yeah.
There was this guy who this bartender, he bought me a bunch of drinks and then he gave me like a bowl of candy at the outside. He's like, don't worry about it, just take it. And all the bartenders were flirting and all the patrons were flirting. And I was like, gracias.
That's such like... That's
un
such
cigarro un cigarro por un euro, por favor. And they'd be like, no, un cigarro is free para tú. And I said, oh my god. I fucking love Spain. The food, everyone's hot, the sun. I felt like a god there, dude. I might move there.
That's such a good way to be inclusive of, like, big people, to just, like, be honest. It's like, here's a bowl of candy. Like, yeah. We're so glad you're here. Like, I know you'd like this, and that's great. Like,
it was the coolest thing ever. I felt like, for the first time in my life, like a hot chick in Torremolinos, Spain.
That does sound great.
Let's go to Spain, Cooper.
I should go, because I've been angry at Spain and Portugal for too long.
Why are you... What's your beef with
Because they were... Like, Portugal is, like, the reason they speak Portuguese in Brazil. They were, like, at one point one of the largest slave importers in the world. And Spain, like, raped fucking Latin America and Mexico. And then now, nobody fucking talks about it. And, this is going to sound like some dumbass white guy trying to not take shit off of America. But it is funny when, because my friends were talking about how, like, my friend was talking about how he had a friend that was completely Spanish from Spain. And she was like, oh, I hate white people. And it's like, you are a white person. You're from Europe. You are white. You can say you're Spanish, but that's the same thing as saying you're German. You're European. You're from Europe, which is the continent that has raped the world and created the rape baby that is America.
Hey.
It is what it is. But it's crazy for Spain and Portugal to be like, oh, we didn't do anything. What has Portugal done besides import a shit ton of slaves?
Cooper.
Those are my qualms.
That's true, but... And you say that maybe...
I'm sure they're great people, though. I want to go.
Maybe...
People have their assumptions.
Maybe we should reconsider that, because right now, I see a round trip to and fro Spain for $800.
I don't know if it would be great to immigrate or to go to another country, another continent at this time.
Why?
Well, there's a pandemic.
Yeah, but, I mean, okay, let's see. Let's just see right now. Okay.
Europe can be a bag of shit, though, because I remember I toured a lot of small towns, and a lot of the small towns in Europe are like small towns in America where they just stare at you. I remember being in
Spain is so fucking cool. I'm telling you.
I'm sure it is. I mean, a lot of places are cool. I'm just saying, a lot of the places in Europe. Have you ever, like, I think that's why you didn't like Copenhagen, because it's really interesting to see uninhibited whiteness. Like to see full on.
I love how Copenhagen thinks, and like all these European countries think they're like America is so bad and so disgusting people and like and not inclusive and racist and whatever. And yet, I don't know, how many black people do you have in your country?
Yeah.
3?
Yeah.
How are you going to lecture anyone? How's anyone from Switzerland going to lecture anybody about race relations?
Yeah. To be fair,
it's very nice of you to think that you're not racist at all when you aren't exposed to any other races other than white, blonde people. Good for you.
It is interesting when white people are, like I said, completely uninhibited, because when we are, I notice that we just stare. Because when we were in small towns, like, me and my girlfriend would be walking around, and I remember a guy staring.
Was this in Germany?
Yeah, this was in Germany. And I remember a guy, and it was like a small town. It was only money is from tourism, but it's like a town that has really not changed since the medieval times. And I remember there was a guy that was staring at us from like 40 yards away. And we're walking like around a corner, coming close to him. And he's with his family, but he's just staring at us 40 yards away. He stared at us the whole time. And now it's at the point where like, now I'm like 10 feet away from him. And we're like turning the corner. And I'm just staring at him because it's gone on too long. So we're just eye to eye. And he's still staring at me like I'm a fucking, just like a tree. And he's staring at me, and then we walk past, and I'm like, well, I wonder if that's done, but I know it's not. And I look back, and he's still staring at us. And that shit happened in, like, almost every town of just, like, Europeans. It's, like, it's wild, the kind of, like, and I don't want to put it to race, but it is so to race where it's this true, pure, distilled white cockiness that like we were in this town that was built on a hill because of medieval fortification. It was better to be on a hill. That's how old it was. And there was this one dumbass fucking worthless piece of shit. Then she doesn't know she's a worthless piece of shit because she's European and artisanal, but she is. She runs a piece of shit. She runs a piece of shit puppet shop in this little small town. If you run a puppet shop, you don't matter.
And you can't be mad at tourists because that's your 90% of your business.
Thank you. Me and my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, we walk in.
It's not like the locals are buying fucking puppets.
Thank you. We walk in there, we're looking at puppets, and she doesn't even look at us. And it's like, I know that you know that we're probably not going to buy anything, but we're the only fucking ones that might. So fucking go over and go with your dumbass accent. Go, oh, these are the puppets. You want to play with the puppets? Put on a fucking show because your life is meaningless. You live in a small town and sell puppets. You could be burned at the stake and it would get more views on Instagram.
Witch!
That would matter more than anything. And back to the witches. Fucking god damn it.
I know what you mean, man.
It's just like you fucking... We got 40 seconds left and we should probably stop soon.
What time is it?
We've been doing like an hour and 15.
Okay.
But just some of the people there. And it's great because there are Europeans that are either like, my life is dumb and I love it. You know what I mean? There's those Europeans that are like, because like we would do like these dumbass tours because we were on a wine cruise with old people.
Yeah.
So it would be like, oh, I live here and I give the bike tours for the cruise. And it's like, good for you. You have a job that provides and you find happiness in living. But then there's also these other people that are like, oh, like I'm the puppet lady. Like, oh, my life matters. I sell puppets in little medieval towns that doesn't really even need to exist anymore. And it's like, what? Can you shut up, you dummy?
It's weird that they were so like confrontational with you.
You know what? I forgot to bring this up. This is the shit that pissed me off more than anything. We were in France. I think it was Strasbourg, which is on the German border. So it's sort of like a German French town.
Okay.
And me and my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, I'm sorry. I just feel the need to say that because I feel like it's weird to keep calling someone your girlfriend who's not. But, which is a whole thing we could get into. But we were looking for a drink. So we were like, we'll just kind of go anywhere. And then we see this place that's called like American Barbecue. And we were like, well, obviously we wouldn't want to get food there, but they'll probably speak English.
Yeah.
And we're just getting wine. And then we go in and the lady comes up to us and starts speaking French, which is fine. It's France. And then we start speaking English to her. And she was like kind of weird about it. She was like, ugh. Like, you know how French people, like, they think they're hiding it, but they're not? Because French people are some of the dumbest fucks in the world. And she was like...
Wow, that's a wild accusation.
You can say anything.
Story.
You can say anything you want about European whites. They can all fuck themselves to death. By the way, British people... Anyway. But then she was, like, rude about it. And, like, weird that we were speaking English. And it's like... The fucking restaurant has the word American in it. Do you think dumb fucks like us are not going to come here for comfortability? Like, you stupid asshole. Also, and I know you want to say something, I just want to say, British people, by far the most evil people in the world.
Why do you say that?
Nobody talks about it. Because, like, the British
they're
Empire,
very classist.
The sun never sets. They fucking colonize the entire world. And the fucking gall of them to call us dumb. Have you ever seen the fucking videos where they throw bananas at black soccer players? They're the most racist motherfuckers in the world. And they try and shit on us for all this bullshit. Listen, I will hang out with a white trash American more than I ever would white trash British. Because white trash Americans, and this is what I love and hate about America, is we love our trash. Is we're like, I'm trash, I love it, smoke meth till I die, fuck my daughter, I don't give a fuck. Like, love your trash, live it, well, don't fuck your daughter, but love your trash, live it till you die. But these fucking British people, even the shitty country bumpkins who should be electrocuted to death, even them are like, oh, I'm of the Queen. But they don't even say it like that. They're like, oh, I'm of the Queen. I talk like this. And it's like, no, you're trash. You're disgusting. And the worst part is you're uglier than white trash Americans. A lot of white trash Americans, hot. They're like hot people. They're dirty, but they're hot. But these fucking gross, fucking bumpkin, like urban, fucking white, bucktooth piece of shit British people are like, no, I'm of the Queen. Oh, I'm descended from this. It's like, no, you fucking Norman conquest motherfucker. Oh, I speak the Queen's English. It's a German language, and you were conquered by Scandinavians, which is why your fucking accent sounds like a German and Scandinavian person. You don't speak English, right? Americans speak English way better than you do, you dumb fucks. And I'll say that till the day I die. If you're in Britain listening to this, fucking stop. No, that's not true. Keep listening, because we want your stupid, worthless views. Actually, now that I say it, Britain is the worst country in the world. Ireland is a great place. Scotland's a cool place. Britain's a piece of shit. It can burn to the ground. I don't care.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I remember when we were in London, we went to a French restaurant. We talked about French people. And they were so mean to me.
It's such a great way to start. They were so mean to me.
They really were. I went in, and so I was at the booth side, and the other side was a chair. And this is a fancy restaurant, like we were getting like steak that night. Frites. And steak frites. And steak with confitures, and I went to sit on the booth side, and you know how like at fancy